Jay, surely you must be kidding. Last year when you said that you were planning to cover the entirety of Clement Clarke Moore's book, 'twas the night before Christmas, in your annual Christmas card I assumed it was just another of your obtuse jokes, like when you told me you were going to write a book about raking leaves.
Julie, you should know by now that I would not make jokes about my great masterwork. You would not hear J.R.R. Tolkien making cracks about The Hobbit, or Neil Young being irreverent about his magnum opus, Sleeps with Angels, would you? I do not take this project lightly, and neither should you.
Nevertheless, you are in some kind of a serious slump here with your Christmas cards. I mean, 9 ropes of same thickness soon would be there. It's not funny, it's not Christmassy, and it's not even clever. It's just freaking bizarre.
You say freaking bizarre like it is a bad thing. Sure, it is on the edge. But all of the great linguistic comedians pushed the envelope. Just look at the great work of Julius Henry Marx or Alfred Yankovic. These geniuses laid the groundwork for the twists of a phrase which I now so capably employ in my annual holiday card.
I hardly think of Groucho Marx and Weird Al Yankovic as geniuses.
I'm sure you don't, Jewel. But you can't deny that they made very successful careers by creating clever puns that no one else considered or attempted. Groucho had 1 million of them, like the one about it being too dark to read inside a dog. And who besides Yankovic could have pulled off the classic "Another One Rides the Bus" from that mediocre Queen song? So simple and elegant. And you have to admit, both of them were financially successful.
Now we are getting to the heart of the matter. If there was a chance that you might be bringing in some cash from these cards, then I would look at them in a much different light.
I admit that so far my cards have not been very lucrative, but I have not exactly had the kind of support behind me that would enable me to be successful. Perhaps if you would go out and get a job at SAP to pay all of our exorbitant college tuition bills, then I could focus my talents on my greeting card business. That is what I have really wanted to do for the past 25 years anyway, and it is where my great talent lies.
Don't get your hopes up. I have no plans to go back into the job market, and if I did, it would not be to a place as wearisome and stultifying as SAP.
In that case, I don't see that there is much hope of my greeting cards ever reaching a wider audience.
Such a tragedy.
Julie, sarcasm really does not become you.
Who is being sarcastic? Oh, by the way, do you think you will get cards this year from your 2 friends who also make homemade cards?
If you mean my 2 great friends Mike Ryder and Larry McGorry, then I certainly hope so.
Right. The giant bearded oaf and the scraggly homeless guy who single-handedly ruined my wedding.
If I remember correctly, Mike Ryder's card last year has some disturbing undertones that I will not discuss in this public forum. And Larry McGorry did not even send a card last year. That was a huge disappointment. In general, it was an off year for them, while I stepped up my game a notch by adding the hysterical and wildly popular YouTube video to my "The Stored Kings Were Hung by the Chimney with Bears" card.
By wildly popular video, do you mean the one that has only garnered 78 views in the past year?
Okay, I admit that the number of hits was slightly lower than I expected.
Slightly lower? You sent out 110 cards. That's well less than 1 hit per card, and probably 20 of them were yours.
Sure. While I had hopes that it would be a runaway internet sensation like "Charlie Bit Me" or "The Laughing Baby," it takes a while for these things to build up. Remember that it was a brand new concept last year.
I just don't see why you go to the trouble. Your own son Daniel wouldn't even watch it all the way through.
True enough, but our daughter Erin thought it was hilarious. And as I remember, you laughed so hard that you were crying. As long as I am enjoying myself, you should not be complaining. I am slowly building a body of work that will someday be a family treasure. And incidentally, Julie, I don't think of my book, Leaf Raking for Beginners, as an obtuse joke. It so happens that there is a lot of useful information I could dispense on this topic. Leaf raking may appear to be an easy task on the surface, but there are many subtle and useful techniques that can optimize the process and make it more efficient. Don't you remember how I struggled to get our leaves cleaned up in the first years that we were homeowners?
Okay, Jay, I will stop. I have quite a bit of knitting to do anyway.
Oh yes. It must be nearly time for one of your wildly popular craft fair exhibits, isn't it?